speech. Julian Leeser is the Shadow Minister for Education and joins me now. Julian, thank you for coming on. Has Australia's university sector fundamentally failed Jewish students?
Yes, Jamie, they've not only failed Jewish students, they've failed all Australian students because they've effectively taught Australian students a lesson. They've basically said to Australian students by their actions and lack of actions that when someone's being intimidated and harassed, don't stand up for them, just let it go on. When there's a group of people who you want to get off your campus, don't stand up to them and be strong, roll over to them, especially if they're a hate group that wants to run their ruler over all your defence contracts. And when your academic colleagues are being harassed by masked people coming into their room, by people urinating on their desks, downplay the significance. I think they've taught Australians a terrible lesson. It's why I've called our university leaders weak and spineless, and why I've been calling since the end of 2023 for some sort of royal commission, some sort of judicial inquiry into the anti-Semitism that's been on our campuses long before October 7.
Julian, I'm about to play you a grab from the University of Sydney Vice-Chancellor Mark Scott, but just on all of those incidents that you just labelled as what's been going on in universities, and I can't help but think these are our future leaders, and this is what they have been allowing to happen. And if we say that that's okay, I just hate to think what our future is going to look like with these sort of people getting away with this sort of behaviour.
That's exactly the point, Jamie. I mean, I think universities are life-changing experiences at their best. They're the place that the next generation of leaders go to be formed. But the example that's been given to the next generation by the conduct of university leaders about how we treat our fellow Australians is a very dark one indeed, and sets us up for a country where some people get stood up for and other people are just othered. And that's not something I want to see my children or anyone's children learn. That's not a positive future for this country.
So Mark Scott is the University of Sydney Vice-Chancellor. Now, this is what he said at the Royal Commission about the pro-Palestine student encampment.
I still believe the pursuit of the peaceable resolution of the encampment was very important and to the long-term benefit of the university. But I can see that our Jewish students and staff paid a price for that as the encampment dragged on. And I am sorry to them that it took so long for us to get it done, and I'm sorry we did not keep them more closely engaged.
Julian, when you hear that, what's your response to those comments?
Well, look, it's good to hear that Mark Scott has owned up to the failures of his own university, as to some extent did Glyn Davis, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Melbourne today. But it's one thing when you've got half a dozen of Australia's top silks glaring at you and you're sitting before a retired High Court judge to be contrite. The real test for university Vice-Chancellors now is, will they properly adopt the university definition, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition that I wrote to them about back in 2022 alongside Labor MP Josh Burns and Teal MP Allegra Spender. And 5 universities said they'd adopted it. But as I've talked to Vice-Chancellors as the Shadow Education Minister, too many of them say, oh, we don't have a problem, why would we adopt it? Others say, we don't want to adopt it, just legislate it, we can't take the fight. And others pretend they've adopted it, but really haven't done anything at all. And there's a scathing report by one of their own, Greg Craven, a former Vice-Chancellor, who finds not one single university in this country has properly adopted a definition, even a definition they themselves came up with 18 months ago. So the time for mucking around is well and truly over. 15 people are dead at Bondi. They must adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition in full, and it must be adopted without any further delay.
It does seem, though, Julian, is that enough to adopt these definitions? Should there also be things like financial consequences for universities that fail to protect students? It just seems like we need something a lot more serious as a consequence for what's been happening.
I couldn't agree more, Jamie, but at the very first point, if you can't define what anti-Semitism is, you can't ever deal with it properly. But I agree with you in relation to penalties for universities. It's why in December last year, the recommendation of the Special Envoy on Anti-Semitism, we put forward a proposal to basically make it a provider condition for a university to call itself a university, that it properly deals with anti-Semitism. That we'd look at the special envoy's proposals to remove funding from academics who engaged in anti-Semitism and universities who continued to condone anti-Semitism. There do need to be financial penalties, and I make no apology for taking a tough stand and being prepared to exercise powers to bring the universities to heel on this issue.
And Julian, just quickly before I let you go, you were with Opposition Leader Angus Taylor today talking with small businesses. What are some of the things that you're hearing in your community?
Well, we had Angus Taylor and Jane Hume visit for a special small business roundtable in my electorate this morning. Over 150 small business people talking about the adverse effect of Labor's toxic taxes, taxes that the Prime Minister promised 50 times he wouldn't bring in, taxes Labor took to the election in 2019 and were roundly defeated on. We've heard about the effect of those taxes on businesses in my electorate. We've heard about the burgeoning red tape burden across all sectors of the economy on businesses in the electorate. And we've also heard particular concerns about the coming taxes on trusts and the effect that that will have on small businesses even being prepared to have a go in the first place.
Well, Julian, I think this is an opportunity for the Coalition to really show that you've got the backs of small businesses. Thank you for your time tonight. After the break, words matter.